Bernie Sanders is now up and about in the initial recovery period after his heart troubles that he was in the hospital for just a few days ago. He's already been putting out new plans, his big campaign finance plan, his anti-corruption plan. So he's been active, but in terms of how active he's going to be in terms of events, he has been asked about that, and here's what he said.
Look, we were doing, in some cases 5 or 6 meetings a day, 3 or 4 rallies and town meetings, and meeting with groups of people. I don't think I'm going to do that. But I certainly intend to be actively campaigning. I think we're going to change the nature of the campaign a bit. Make sure that I have the strength to do what I have to do.
What do you mean by change the nature?
Well, probably not doing 4 rallies a day. I'm not quite sure that, I could be wrong on this, but I don't know there's anybody who did more rallies than we have done all over the state. So we're going to, probably not do 3 or 4 rallies a day, do 2 or do other events as well.
So that is Bernie Sanders responding fairly impromptu, I think. He was probably approached by some journalist in a sober, serious way about a concern that some people have. And he was incredibly honest and forthright about it. And so he must be destroyed. So look, I have a feeling how this is gonna be spun. I have one example of it in just a second, but let's take it on the merits. Right. He's going to be shifting his campaign strategy a little bit. He had been campaigning pretty hard for anyone, for someone half his age. And so I don't know that it's necessarily the worst thing in the world, but I liked that pace too. And so it's not great news necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, I always wonder the degree to which you can do these things and how much they help, like on a grand scale, to do 4 rallies a day, because I didn't know that was the pace that they were going at. And how much it really transfers into votes, right? Because it's 2019, again, I keep saying it this way. It seems odd to me when I've seen people run and they have to go and knock on doors, literally. I was like, man, people still literally walk down the street and knock on doors? Is there a paperboy riding down with a paperboy hat on and throwing papers? It seems archaic to me that you can get your message out still without going and literally knocking on doors, without literally having 4 rallies a day in one state. It seems odd. So I think it's, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I've never run for office before. To slow down your pace and still be effective in getting your message out, because there's multiple ways of doing it now.
Yeah, I mean, I think at his level, he doesn't have to do the knocking on doors, but like AOC, that was one of the big things she did, was she knocked on every door she possibly could. I think that he's relatively insulated from this affecting him more so than a lot of politicians because he's a known quantity. People know who he is, they're familiar with him. He doesn't have to do as much work to get his name out. He does have to make the case against other candidates, and rallies can help him to do that. They can help to sustain the movement and all of that. But he's a savvy politician with a lot of experience, and so if anyone can come up with alternative ways to do that, he's probably well positioned to do that. Now, how is this going to be received by people who are not trying to be reasonable? Well, I have an example of one. Someone who is in a very particular area of their own career, quite reasonable, but then once they venture off of those safe shores, they delve into bias. This is Nate Silver, noted numbers guy, who says, I sort of wonder if this means that he's entering a phase where his goal is to pull the nominee to the left and or to build a movement rather than to actually win. Arguably, that's been his de facto goal from the start, although maybe not consciously so. I mean, you only get 280 characters on a tweet to pack it so full of condescension. That is difficult. So Bernie Sanders, that dummy, he doesn't even know that he wasn't really trying to become president. He's faking it even to himself. All he's doing is trying to influence things. And by the way, it is a great trick to avoid any acknowledgement of the fact that he has pulled the country and the party to the left, and then say he's just trying to pull the party to the left. He hasn't accomplished a titanic act to change people's views on some of the biggest, most important policy proposals in decades in American political history. Ignore that, doesn't matter, we've all caught up there. Now he's just running to pull them to the left.
When it comes to health of older candidates and even people in office, I don't know, I kind of wish we as Americans would maybe think of it differently. So if someone is running for office and then they potentially have some kind of health issues, like physical health issues, I get if it's a mental health issue because maybe they'll make decisions that aren't based in much reality. We're dealing with that right now.
Yeah.
But when it comes to physical health issues, if someone's running for office and they haven't even gotten there yet, but they're coming up with plans that'll actually help Americans, and then you go, well, he's too old, because then what would happen, right? Maybe they'll like, okay, John McCain passed away last year, right? He died when he was still in office. Did the world turn upside down? Did Arizona sink into the desert? Like, I don't understand what it means happens if a politician has physical health issues, but they have plans that'll actually help people. So if they're running for office and they're touting all this stuff, and they go, all that sounds great, but you have this heart condition, so therefore none of that means anything. Why is that our perception? Why is that our assumption?
If you think that they've declined mentally to the point where they can't keep up with the job, I think that is a valid concern. Now we have to be fair about it. We can't be conspiratorial about it. But just in terms of like, I don't think he could do an Ironman anymore, so I'm not going to vote for him. That seems a little bit weird.
What does that have to do with it? You have to have meetings and come up with plans and have a staff around you. It just seems odd, and I think we need to get beyond it. Dick Cheney has an iron heart right now, but he still carried out a lot of atrocities when he was in office.
Yeah,
so
you
can still do your horrible work.
He's steam powered. He is a steampunk. That is what he is, and yet he managed to do it. So anyway, that's an update on Bernie Sanders. Obviously, best wishes to him during his recovery. For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.